welcome to our next work session for the EMS building or Emergency Services building. If we can have Scott start, introduce yourself, and we'll go around the room.
Okay.
So everybody on the video knows who everybody is.
Nice. I'm Scott Cromwell with Slate Architecture.
Keith Van Zetten, Sheriff Coroner.
Deb Coverdell, DES and EMS.
Melissa Moyer, Health Department.
Dick Snellman, Commissioner.
Joe Delvin, Commissioner.
Kathy Thompson, Staley Engineering.
Aaron Kensinger, Staley Engineering.
Melody Martinson, Choteau Acantha.
Thank you and welcome everybody. Do you want to go over the minutes from
Sure.
the last meeting? And
I don't know that we made those out to everybody, but I did bring a couple copies just to have it. If not, we'll have to get that. So basically, the previous minutes were just kind of the notes that Seth and I took. Just a hard copy here, and I'm happy to send those to Kathy if you want. I don't remember if we sent those around or not, but basically it's just capturing what you told us last time we were together from the flip charts. And so I could run through them real quick just for a point of record if anyone would like, and maybe do that, just take a few minutes.
sure.
First thing is we had to move the building. We were in the wrong spot. The challenges that were talked about were building in the floodplain poses a challenge to what building type materials and strategies we can utilize on the site. Another challenge, building availability. Pre-engineered steel sound like the most likely option for the intended use of this facility, which you'll see that's what we put together. Storage, never enough storage, especially for large multifaceted programs like this. So we've got a lot of storage, you'll see that as well. Workflow collisions, new facility needs to avoid collisions, clashes between divisions and personnel within each division. The next item was the needs assessment. And first, beginning with the health department, single entrance with immediate public interface at front desk. Sub-bullet point awaiting area would be nice. A security door to limit public access until allowed by front desk. Requires a restroom only, no bathroom function, shower, or tub. We'll do a code study for a number and allowances on those restrooms throughout the building, so you'll see that. We still need to fine tune that a little bit, but we think we have that down. Staff entrance needs to be secure. And current size on the floor plan is adequate and will be large enough to accommodate growth in the future. Looking at emergency operations. The Emergency Operations Center could be a multi-use space. I'll talk about that when we get to the plan. There's been some more development on EOC use and that it should be dedicated to EOC, and so we'll talk through that. Anyway, this area could serve as community as a gathering space, a soup kitchen, voting, etc. Wall-mounted monitors in the future, just need the connections to begin with. Folding partitions for dividing space into separate rooms, a separate breakout area, leadership and privacy meetings, etc. Acoustics need to be robust in this space. Lots of people equals lots of noise. The kitchen side of that serves the EOC exclusively, most likely. Function as a warming kitchen, warming food up, not ever really cooking food. So a residential stove and range, a microwave, and storage for event cutlery, silverware, and dishes. Storage, blankets, water, disaster relief supplies, etc. is dedicated and easily accessible to vehicles and personnel. In the ambulance bay, 4 vehicles, van, F-350, F-450, and a Suburban. 3 bays are adequate. These do not operate full-time. County maintenance, storage of lawn mowers and other equipment. Search and rescue, the search and rescue bay, most of this division is storage for equipment, boats, ATVs, snowmobiles, buses, etc. Radio equipment and charging space, 14 by 14 overhead doors. And on your plan you had 12 by 12 on those. We did upsize that to a 16 by 12 overhead door, so it's just a little wider, but 2 feet shorter. SAR EMS training, shared training space, also a multi-use space, doubles as family privacy room for traumatic event patients. Mechanical room, janitor space, and storage for all departments. Other mechanical, just janitor space and storage for all departments, shared utility metering, buried power lines to conceal and protect. Water and sewer is adjacent to the site. Bathrooms, we'll do the code study again, we talked about. HVAC, heat pump would be a nice option, a little bit more money for the piping side of it. A single rooftop unit, we just have to design for a structural load for that, which we can certainly do. Multiple smaller rooftop units is a little bit more money, but creates better zones to do that. Need to consider segregated ventilation for each department, so just keep that separate. Radiant in-floor heating is not ideal for this application, but need to discuss further down the road. And on the sheriff's side, one vehicle is a Suburban, a 12-foot overhead door. On the morgue, a 1 to 3 body cooling cabinet, exam table. About middle of the room, can walk all the way around it. Floor drain, sink, and casework for supplies. And that was the notes that we took last time. Put that together.
Did we leave anything out as far as the departments?
I don't know if it mattered or not, but what water available to the center of the room of the
For you.
morgue, yeah.
Yeah, we put in a table, I'll show that to you, and you may not like it, but we just had from other morgue projects, we had a table, autopsy table that we used, so, yeah. So with that, I'll just jump into the plan, kind of run through how it lays out. And so it's about, right now, what we've got is a metal building, it's about 100 and, well, we go from the frame system, so it's 150 feet long, plus a little bit for the girts on the ends, and that, by 76 feet wide. And so as a starting point, that's where we've got it to talk about. If you remember, we talked back to, let's just get the entire building in there, get it built, and then phase it inside as money allows. So with the $2.4 million budget, we got to at least try to get the building built and then see what we can do inside. And I've got costs, you've seen that probably on the agenda, we'll come to that, we'll talk through that. Because we need your help figuring out what is going to be the best first square footage that we can use to get started and then build on it down the road. So with that in mind, so this is the layout, so we've got it set up. It's about 40 feet from the sheriff's office now. And then we've got a 20-foot apron. This is the sheriff's side here. Pretty much the same plan layout that we had put together, or that you had submitted to as well. And so we've just fine-tuned it, kind of squished things down a little bit, trying to get everything to fit and work. And then we have basically all of the vehicle access is on the east side. So if we didn't have to put the maintenance out here, I think we're still far enough away from MRL that we could still have a little garage door out here for the
So
maintenance.
the white is just aprons, so to speak?
Yep, yep.
Now, with
Does
that
that
apron
work?
on the
I don't
north,
know yet, sorry.
Yep.
no, I guess I call it the north, the left one.
Oh, over here, okay.
Yeah, that one, what is that access?
That is your corner space.
Oh. So be a north facing overhead door.
Yep.
That's 90 degrees from what I thought,
Okay.
but that's.
I think that's what our design was.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
picked
I thought
That's
our
what it
design
was.
was coming in from the west, well, from the alley side.
It was, the one that we have, it does have an overhead door
The
here.
last one I saw would be coming in from the alley side, going up, and then the morgue was just above that, and then, I'm not sure what was, maybe I'm not haywire.
This is the one that we had the last time that they looked at. It's just
Oh,
like
okay,
this.
okay, I'm 90 degrees off, never mind.
Okay.
And the only question maybe is on the east side with the apron out. If there's not enough room for the maintenance,
Right.
we may have to do something different.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to get the survey and see where that MRL line is, but we just figured that if there already is something there that we could access at least close to the road. We could come back to each sheet, but just kind of want to start looking through the different drawings. And so what I'll do is I'll start an ambulance and go from there. And so what we've done is we've got 12 by 12 doors, 3 sets, with a side access entry into it right here.
No, excuse me, I thought you said 16 outdoors.
That's for the search and rescue.
Search and rescue.
Just the
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, yeah, and so we've got 12 by 12s for the ambulance. We've got 35 feet here, and so with the nose of the ambulance just inside, we figure about 25 feet for the ambulance itself, and then 8 to 10 feet behind it just for loading, get the cots out and all that. So then with that, we've got an office for ambulance storage, so lockable storage to just kind of reload ambulances when that time comes. All of it's in there. A little decon room. So again, just a handheld shower on the wall, all tiled inside there, or whatever product we do, so that if one of the staff is infected, they can come in and decon. A little janitor office, and then we've got a stair up to the mezzanine, and so this would be, again, more storage up top, just additional open storage. We've got a small DES room. I believe the request was about 12 by 12. We went just a little bit because of our width to get things to work. Went just a little bit larger than that. So the DES room is right there. Search and rescue, this is that 16 by 12 overhead door. We put a 3-foot door in here. It could go to a 4-foot door. We've got the room just so they can get larger equipment through the door without having to opening up the overhead. So that could be a 4-foot door right there as well. I'm gonna just kind of step out and talk about exiting as we go through the rest of it, but we consolidated so that we've got a full exit path corridor through here. Also helps to set up some opportunities for what departments go in initially, and then how do we make that work with the rest of the building as well. And so with that, we've got a connection to the back, which would be, we're calling it Plan North, but it's more east, just depending how we tip the drawings. So we'll get with you to figure out what's going to be the best way. It sounds like you consider this east side here. And so we'll make sure we get those connected with you. But we do have to have a vestibule here, just for that, again, those east winds or north winds, whichever they may be, just to help keep the building under pressure. So search and rescue, good size storage, 1,354 square feet. And then direct access across to the training room, but also a door here too, so that other folks could borrow that training room if they needed, or if that's the voting space opportunity as well. So creating a multifunction room here. I think originally the ambulance office was an office / training in there. It was pretty tight, and so the hope is that you'd be able to set up in here too and use this room on the ambulance side. Another major point to talk about is that all of our water is consolidated right here. And so what we're trying to do is keep all of our wet pieces in the middle of the building, so we're not running lines everywhere. And so it makes our plumbing less expensive and easier to use. And so we'll dive off and catch the corner side of it here too, but just really wanted to keep it as much centrally as we could. So with that in mind, we did add in a little laundry facility just to capture anything that's coming from search and rescue or ambulance. Keep that within that facility instead of taking it home with the teams. Here's that warming kitchen, so kind of open to the back, and so load groceries in it here. And then we just have storage cabinets inside here, so there's not essentially a pantry, so we need to talk through that if we need to add a pantry to that kitchen. We've got 2 toilet showers next to each other here. And then this is storage for the EOC, dedicated storage for that. With the EOC, the original EOC, I believe, was about 2,700 square feet. It was pretty good sized. And so this EOC at 1467 is about 98 people in there by code. So it's still a good sized room. And I don't know how big the event could be here, but if 98 people can get in there and work, and that's using table and chairs. So that's 15 square feet per person. So, and if we upsize that, or if we just use standing room as 5 square feet per person, or 7 square feet per person if they're seated in a chair. And so there's a lot of room in in that size of that room. But that's one of my questions today, is to make sure that that room is adequately sized for your needs. I'll need your help with that, or if we do need to be at that 2,700 square feet. And then just working over to Melissa's on the health department side. What we did here is we consolidated the entries. So the original plan had kind of 3 entries across the front. We consolidated just more for cost and control. And so folks would come in here, and then you'd have access to the Emergency Operations Center or access into the health department. And back to our notes where I wanted a little bit of opportunity to just screen and wait, have folks wait before they're brought in. So this would be kind of a little waiting reception area. And then a series of offices throughout to meet with folks as they come in. So right now I believe there's 9 offices in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 offices. We did have a mother's room in here. That was originally on the plan too, so that could double as a conference room or just a small gathering room too, but not in use for that. The dedicated toilet, and then a lab with lab storage, and then an exit straight out. So, and then into across the top here, we've got a mechanical room that's hooked to that maintenance bay. So just kind of building maintenance, I would guess would be mowers and just things to take care of the building itself. And then to the corner side, we've got an autopsy table here, just a table. And it's got a head wall that's hooked into water, a 3-compartment sink, and just a computer station there. And then a cooler with up to 3 bodies. So we have a table and then rack storage as well. And then for the Suburban, that's the bay for it. So yeah, the overall is 151.10 and a half on the length, and then 77'4" on the width of it. Is how it fits in there.
Where's the access to upstairs?
Oh, thank you. So upstairs is right here. So we come in. This is a closet underneath the stair there. This is the access up to the mezzanine level, or the second story. I shouldn't call it a mezzanine. Be the second story. And then we also have, because of the size, have to have a dedicated one that goes straight out. And so we'll have 2 stairs that serve that upper level storage.
There's 3 stairs though.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, this is
there.
this one is not connected to. It could be. We could put a rated door in, and it could be connected to.
So do you have a ceiling over the top of the EOC? It's not wide open. Is there storage on top of that?
Yeah. Okay.
So storage is all the way from the health department all the way across.
Yep. I'll go to the next sheet here.
Okay.
And we just cut it off like right here at this 2,000 square foot mark, almost 2,500. So this is the stair that's coming up from downstairs. That's considered a communicating stair, so it's not required to be rated. It doesn't have to go outside. But our second stair does, so it has to be fully enclosed, and then it heads up right outside, just for safety.
So the only place storage is above the EOC.
Right now, and then you've got, it doesn't show here, but there's also mezzanine, so you've got mezzanine storage up above in the ambulance bay too. And we could continue this across. We may have to add a 3rd stair, just based on our exit travel distance, depending on how far you want to take it. I was going to go back and just talk about, so we have the path that we're headed down is, of course, pre-engineered metal building, build the entire shell, bless you, the entire shell, and then we would use steel studs, all steel stud framed. What that means is that we can do a type 2B project, and so what that does is allows us to put in fire areas, and so this would be a wall, be 2-hour wall, and be a fire area. And what that does is, as I think I mentioned last time, once we get to that 12,000 square foot mark, we have to sprinkle. So if we create this wall here as a fire area, that all starts over. And so we can go away from having to do fire sprinkler as long as we stay, at least one side or the other stays under 12,000 square feet. And so that's it. So that's the main level, and that's that second story, that storage that I just showed you. And so we'll need to just keep crunching numbers as we decide how much storage you want on the second level. And you know, what, of course, we have the frame there, we can build it and just shell it out for future as well. So we just have to make sure we're planning and keeping all of that in mind.
So I do have a question. Is there storage above the search and rescue?
There is not. So we have, I'll go back to search and rescue. We left this as a high base space, and I'll show you the elevations coming down, but we broke up the roof, so it's not an even ridge. We tipped it to one side so we could focus our storage on there and try to keep some of the costs down. And the square footage, so that's the other reason why we had done that.
We're
So-
missing a room for EMS. We're missing a storage room for our training supplies. That's not in there.
So would you not use it for this one?
No, that's for our supplies, for our
Okay.
medications and, yeah, so they have to be two totally separate. One is for training supplies and one is for other storage.
Okay.
So,
We'll have to figure something out. We could introduce more width to it, to a building, I guess, and do that. So if I go here, I guess we've got some width we could work with, just to get a little bit wider and get that snuck in there.
I do have another question, because in the larger area, right there where you're at, there was some storage for tables and chairs.
Yep.
And
he moved
Yeah,
it right
that
there.
storage space looks
Yep.
smaller than what was there before.
Yeah, you had a long skinny one, but we
Yeah.
needed a spot to put the stairs, so that's why we put that. So I guess I envisioned is you'd have a chair rack with wheels that you would stack chairs on and slide those in. And then
yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
part is
Yes.
fine, but and what size did we make the offices in the health department?
Various sizes, so we've got the 100 square foot size, which is as small as office, you know, with 2 people in there. And then we've got some varying, larger offices here at 145, 127. So some larger group, gathering offices too.
Is the laundry something that everybody else is gonna use? Is that something you guys would want access to?
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think we'd really ever use it.
How about you guys?
I'm sorry.
The laundry room. Is that something that you guys would ever,
Well, we've got laundry in the jail too, so.
yeah.
We have an alternate source or,
I just can't imagine
Opportunity.
that we need a great big
Okay.
huge laundry room.
Okay.
And I can't imagine search and rescue would need too much. I don't, the original I think had it, the laundry room closer to it being in the bays versus
Right.
hauling contaminated stuff clear out into the main part of the building. I'd rather keep it, you know, even where your decon area is. I'm just not certain that you want us to bring all of our contaminated stuff out right next door to the kitchen. I don't know.
Are you,
I don't know.
would you share it or not? Because before it was kind of just out.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then-
obviously we could share, but I just don't know if it needs to be that. If they're not gonna utilize it, then there's probably no reason. If the sheriff's office already has one, health department isn't gonna use one, I'm not sure who else would use them other than maybe search and rescue.
Okay.
But I can't imagine that we could work pretty close with them as far as they could hop over into our bay to use it.
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
once in a while that.
Yeah.
So-
We're gonna be on the same event, most likely.
Probably.
Mhm.
That, I just don't know that we would need a big dedicated room for laundry. I just don't think it's gonna get used. Currently, right now in Choteau, if we have something, we take it to the hospital and the hospital washes it for us
Okay.
and returns it back, but we're right next door to them. So, and the only other facility that has one is Fairfield, and they run it maybe once every 3 to 4 months, because the same thing, our linens, we can leave at the hospital. So it's only something that you know, we need back that same day
Okay.
that we need that.
So would just a simple closet with bifold doors
Yeah.
or something be
Yeah.
fine
Yeah.
to do? Because we might
Yeah.
be able to work that
Yeah,
So,
in your ambulance bay.
yeah, when you're saying you're moving it to the south, that's a decon room, and what's the other little storage
it's a
space?
janitor room, and I'm not sure, what's that, is that for the EOC, or what's the janitor room for?
Well, we ran, so our goal was, based on what the request was, we'd have one for each department. So they're not cross-contaminating. And we just ran out of room, and so we don't have another one in there yet. So this could be that, but our thought was this is probably something in the mechanical room,
Yeah,
would be a mop sink or something
Yeah.
that would go.
So when we get to the sheriff's side, we had another storage area in there. And then with the stairs going up for both sides, you know, for the sheriff's department and for the health department, so that we can lock those separate
Okay.
instead of that long hallway again. And I mean, I understand there's rules that you have to go by,
Yep.
but
because you're gonna wanna use the storage upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
That's a long ways for you to,
Yeah, we just down this corridor and up. Well, yeah, we just have to figure out how much storage you need and, you know,
All we can
to
get.
what extent we're gonna go.
All we can get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's there, we will fill it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and I guess I have another question, because you were saying you were changing the pitch of the roof.
Yep.
It's not gonna be 20 foot high, the walls.
So I'll get to that next. So again, I'm focused on the budget too, and so that's what's really driving some of this. So we've got to just be cognizant of the budget and what it is. So we've got we set it up as about a 14 foot on the low side, and then it climbs and goes up, and so we create up in here is where all that storage is, which can go all the way across the front. To do that. And so we have to be disrespectful of our square footage, because that gets us into fire concerns and could bring in a fire sprinkler. So we can put as much storage up there as we want, but we just have to make sure that if we do that, we may have to add a fire sprinkler to it. So we're trying to just figure out ways to keep that down, still get you ample storage, and not have to do a fire sprinkler or.
And I mean, I appreciate that, and I understand what you're saying, except you were talking about making, with the metal studs, being able to make each department fireproof separate.
Yep.
So if we have the 20-foot walls,
Yep.
so that there is more storage, we can run those metal studs all the way to the ceiling
Yep.
to eliminate having a square footage issue with the sprinkler systems and the fire.
Yep. So I'll give you a for instance. So this wall actually should continue all the way across, and just to get that drawn right. And so this would be that one bay.
Right.
And then so downstairs, we have all of this left over. And so this is our total fire area on 2 floors. We have to make sure we stay under 12,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And,
could you run another one on the other side of the EOC? Is that what you're thinking, Dick?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
it
Or
just
somewhere.
would, it
divided
gives
into
us,
3.
I mean, when you look at health department records and you look at the sheriff records,
Yep.
we need to have those pretty secure.
Yep.
So if those walls go all the way to the ceiling or to the roof,
Yep.
I mean, they're covered, because nobody can climb through that.
Right. Yeah, and so what we haven't done is broke this up into different departments. It's just right now, just a big space.
Well, no, I understand, but I guess what I was saying is on the north end of the larger area, right next to the health department,
Yep,
if there was a wall all the way across,
you bet.
over the sheriff's department, we're pretty well secure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we would just basically do this.
Yeah.
And then we could introduce another, we just don't have square footage for a stair right now. And so with your permission, if we grew the building a little bit, we could get a stair closer to your space so that you aren't trucking stuff up these stairs. And our thought is that we continue this across. This is health department below. And so you would have this as your entire area. And if I were to guess, that would be probably about 3,800 square feet.
So where does the stairs in the EMS go to then? Do they go to that, or is there storage above the offices there?
Yeah, just storage above, so it totally separated.
So we're totally separated from the rest of them, okay.
Yep. But not to say that you couldn't, we could throw a rated door in right here, and you would have that access across. So yours looks about like that. And then your stairs are right here.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, there's still plenty of room for storage up there. It's just staying under that. If we elect to stay underneath that 12,000 square feet, that's the big thing.
But by putting the walls in for fireproof or
Right.
whatever,
Yep.
that eliminates
Yep.
that issue.
But then you'd need another stairway on the north side somewhere.
We would, yes, we would need to, because we're gonna run out of travel distance. That's supposed to be a stair. Either inside or outside. It could be, if you wanted to, we could just do one outside. I prefer not to do it, because
Well,
then it becomes
yeah.
issues with kids climbing
Yeah.
on them.
But that's why I was asking for the size of the health department rooms compared to what we have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went back through and kind of readjusted. I think we even did that our first time together, just to get them more uniform in size.
But so you would then have to have, you're saying it would have to be an additional staircase, so you would then
Correct.
have 3 staircases into the storage upstairs.
Yeah, unless we could move this one over to more your side.
Yeah, if it would be possible to flip it so it was in between the morgue and the health department, and then, maybe push health department out the other way a little bit, like shift the shape a little bit.
Okay.
And that way it would just, especially if it's basically just gonna be, if EMS has their own upstairs storage, if it's basically just gonna be sheriff and health department, it might make sense to have that staircase a little more central between the two.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even your one that's in the EOC, if that's not right in the middle of that room, but if it is, can you put storage underneath of that staircase?
As long as we have it well protected, drywalled, we can. Yeah, and so this one would probably stay, just because we need our separation of distance. We need to be half the diagonal at minimum. And so I think what we would do is pull this one out then and try to work something in over here. So we have that ability. It makes it easier for your 2 departments to get something up. And we still have this stair over here as well, just for exiting. It's mostly what it would be.
I think that would be, I think that door to the staircase either way would need to be locked, but I think that would be ideal to not, because that's going to be the most public entrance of the building, and so maybe not having it right by the public entrance would also be good for security reasons.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then the roof, or the walls could go back to 20 foot.
Yep. So do you want, I guess when you're envisioning it, so we offset it, so we have all of our storage up here, kind of up front, in order to kind of keep the cost down, keep the building frame a little bit shallower, not quite as tall. But if what I'm hearing you say is you'd like this frame to go up to the 20-foot mark.
Well, I guess from looking at the metal structure that we showed you, it's a rectangle. It's
Yep.
20-foot walls all the way around. And we know roughly what that cost is.
Yeah.
Plus, it's already engineered.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're looking at is, and you can never have too much storage.
Sure.
I mean, and the minute this is built, it'll be too small.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, 20 feet is a very tall building. So as you know.
Not that it matters, but we wouldn't have windows going into the ambulance bay right there. So those two windows on the side
Okay.
would be non-existent. We don't want windows.
I'm a daylight junkie.
I know, and it's nice, but we don't want them in our bays.
You can move over to the health department.
Yeah,
We'll take the windows.
We would love to have
Yeah.
windows, but it's, yeah, that's just not, we just don't need that, windows.
We did a calving barn for MSU, Northern Ag Research Center in Havre, and I put cow wall all the way around. That's because mother cows need daylight
Oh, yeah.
too. So I mean, I just love natural daylight.
I would say if they were up higher where people couldn't access
Yeah.
them would be
Yeah.
we'd love to have
Yeah.
windows, but
That
they've
would
gotta
that
be
way
taller.
For the.
The more too, we just don't need,
Like 7 feet at the bottom of them.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, keep the looky loos out.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just keep looky loose out.
yeah, that would be better. Yeah, windows are great, but not, people
Yeah.
like to peep in them.
So then would we go back to just the center ridge and try and just push that building up? Because I'm figuring about $55 a square foot for the metal building package right now. And so when we get into the cost, which I've got on here, with your 2.4 million cap, I think we're going to be somewhere around 900 to 1.1 million to get the shell built.
The way you have this.
Yeah, or I mean, a variation of it. Yeah. And so I think we're gonna spend that much for foundation, doors, windows, and all that, just to get that shell there. And that's gonna leave, by my calculations, about 7,000 square feet that we can build out immediately as part of it. And then the rest will just have to follow as you have funds available. And so I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Or
How big is the health department? It's like 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, it's in that range. I can pull that up to you. Just see what it is. That is it. Yeah, well, the health department, oh, there it is up there. 2023 is what it's starting to be. And then the sheriff's office is about 1,300 square feet. I didn't do a final update on this since we started going back on the plans, working on the plans, so we got to update this program yet.
But in my mind, the three departments that we need to get done sooner rather than later are sitting right here.
Yep.
Health
Okay.
department and the ambulance and the sheriff. The EOC can wait.
Okay.
Search and rescue, they would have an open space there. They'd probably be tickled just to have the open space. It doesn't need to be finished right now.
Right.
Okay.
So will those three departments be under the 7,000 feet then?
So we would have 3,200 plus 2,500. So yeah, we'd be under, and then we've got miscellaneous we have to work in.
That DES room, probably.
Yeah, and that's just a garage, you know, I mean, that would
Yeah.
not need to be finished, anything other than the exterior garage. That-
So-
And that probably never need to be finished.
Yeah.
Could be that way for the coroner bay too,
Yeah,
you know, to park a vehicle in and,
Yeah.
or if you need to plug it in or whatever.
Well, and it will be insulated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, that's,
So we don't need anything overly fancy, and maybe as time goes on, you know how you start a project and you need to live in it for a while to figure out exactly how you want it?
yeah,
Not a bad option, I guess, in
Yeah.
my thought.
yeah.
What about the upstairs storage? Would we, I mean, it's just storage, doesn't have to be anything too
Overly
fancy.
Right, exactly, and you could even go, I don't know how your feelings are on chain link. I mean, we've done that
Oh, yeah.
in spaces too, where you're not building walls, as long as it's secure all the way to the deck. And
Yeah, it can be
Yeah, that's-
cold.
that's
I mean,
fine,
that,
yeah.
that's,
Yep.
thing is the only one's gonna have access is us that knows the importance of confidentiality anyways.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, and I'm sure we can use locking cabinets and that kind of thing
Oh,
up
yeah.
there, so, yeah.
So the other question I have is, all of the offices will have ceilings in?
it will. Yep.
Just asking.
We have experience over here.
$40,000 because I didn't ask that.
thank you.
Oh.
I appreciate my ceiling.
Yes, and it's for a couple reasons. One, we'll have, I'll go back to the plan here. That would be a part of the metal building manufacturer. Our idea, and we'd have to just tell them, we have two options for the mezzanine. My preferred option is to have the Green Metal building manufacturer provide the framing, and then they'll bring a floor deck, basically, and then it'll get concreted up top. So that's spends a little bit more money. Our other option is to do just heavy gauge steel studs and frame it all in there, across there. But regardless, we'll have a floor up above, and then there'll be a drop ceiling underneath, especially in your office. Or if you're having confidential conversations, then we need to have that.
Yeah, sure, definitely do.
So we go back here to, let's see.
So you said you still have to look into if 2 bathrooms are sufficient, because our original plan had 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so that total signable area is 7,500 square feet now without those
I guess
apartments.
question would be if the EOC will hold 98 plus people, are 2 bathrooms gonna be enough?
Yeah, and occasionally we'll have over 100 people at some of our trainings. So I would rather not cut that room down if we possibly can, size-wise,
Okay.
anymore, because that's still pushing
So
our
could,
limits.
could we just put another bathroom where that laundry room was?
As long as we can get our storage
Yeah.
room in there too.
We'll find a spot. Yeah, we
Our
just
training
review,
storage room.
Yeah.
because right now we've got a
Oh, yeah.
dedicated bathroom within health department, and then we've got these 2 toilet. It's just a matter of just running out of room and really staying focused on that budget number. So if we could slide the building a little bit larger, maybe we could just go that route. I don't know what your comfort level is, I guess, but knowing, I think what really helps me today is just knowing who goes in there first. And so we can figure that from there.
Do you think that's gonna change if you have to, with that maintenance? Not being able to exit on the east side?
That was another question. But you're going to research
The MRL, yeah,
to make sure that we're not too close to the railroad?
yep.
Because that was the issue before the sheriff's office was built, 2001, Keith? 2004. And there was an issue with the railroad
How
later
close it
on.
was. Okay.
Is that easement on that boundary survey? Do you know? I don't remember.
And as far as placement of that building on the site, is that where the requirements are for the setback off of the street on the south?
We just kind of just set it in there to get started. to
Like I
see
say,
what's gonna be
39 feet between my existing office and this apron deal is gonna restrict any opportunity for the sheriff's office itself or the jail to expand.
Oh, so that's.
I'm just bringing that up. I'm just saying.
We wanna go to the south.
Yeah, we need
Far as
to go south as far as possible to try and create as much room for future expansion. Not that it's gonna happen, I'm just saying,
I guess we could go all the way into here because the county owns all this.
yeah, but I guess you,
Because that's the shop.
There's a
No,
road there,
essentially the
yeah.
first street extends to the east.
Where that semi is an actual
I
road.
guess Second Street
Yeah.
is what it would be. Would actually potentially pass through there if the city.
We own half of that.
The city put that shop into the north, and we needed to abandon that street because they were in the right of way.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure all these thoughts are brought out.
Yeah, now's the
Because
time.
I, once that building's there and it's too close to the existing office there, and at some point in time, if ever decide to build a jail, that option will be out.
Yeah.
So I'd like to leave enough room to be able to do that at some point in time.
Is there ever an option that the maintenance isn't in there? That they have their own, own building similar to where their one is now, that is just them?
This is called as a 10-foot easement additional, but it doesn't say what
My thought on that would be cheap just to slip them in there and not have another building.
So we'll have to research that deep.
And this is a question, once you get the morgue, the space on the end of the old sheriff's building, is that,
That garage,
yeah,
anything's possible. Right now, we've got a pickup in there from a homicide case that we gotta
Sure.
keep for,
But for-
we gotta keep for, 8 more years.
yeah, no, I understand, but
Is that this one right here?
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
so that, if we could get that room, I think, and get that storage above in the morgue, we could take what we need that garage for and
move over there.
move over there. Only thing would be is won't have a vehicle storage for evidence per se.
Sure.
Like we have-
We could put in a
now.
big garage door on the second level and you could.
Yeah.
Go up the
One of
ramp.
those lifts like in Japan.
I know my spot at that old sheriff, I would abandon that for storage and put all mine at the actual ambulance bay.
not to change the
Yeah, I can
subject, Scott,
very gladly, yes.
other discussion we've had in the last couple of weeks was we have a generator that services the sheriff's office and the annex, and it's not big enough
quite
to
big enough.
actually do the job. So we were wondering if we have a generator in this budget, if we could just make it to where it would service all 3 buildings,
Okay,
just have one big generator.
yep. Okay.
And that existing
Could-
generator
Would you
between
guys
that
have your own
garage
generator
and
just
the old sheriff's office.
as a backup?
Right there.
Right there.
That's it.
Don't know.
You know how big that is?
We have,
Is it-
because theirs is super
It is,
important to have.
Natural gas.
Okay,
And it runs about 150 amps. So we get 100 amps to the sheriff's office and 50 to the annex.
okay.
And it's not quite enough.
It's
to
not
run
big
the
enough.
annex.
Hmm.
Not,
So it'd be something that would take care of these 3.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what that would take, but it'd be plenty.
Yeah, we just have to have the guys at Ace figure out the loads for each and do that, so it might be a 400 kilowatt generator.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I don't know what this one is.
Probably 250 or something, maybe on
Yeah,
this
I'm
one.
thinking, but amperage isn't quite enough to run both.
Okay,
And that only runs a portion. It runs the jail and our 911, and the rest of the building's kind of left unconnected to that generator.
okay.
So it's not overly large, put it that way.
Okay.
But the one existing could just do the annex, and then you could possibly come up with a separate one for the new building and the sheriff's, something like that.
Our
Yeah,
thought
but
was, Melissa, if we just, because of the maintenance issues, we have one here for the courthouse. And if we just got a big one to handle those 3 buildings,
Just to do all 3 of them,
yeah,
just so you
then
only
we
have
would
one
just
to
have
deal
2
with.
generators to
Yeah,
deal with
okay.
rather than 3
Yeah.
or 4.
Until that one generator dies and then everybody's without power.
Such an optimist.
Hey, that's my job, be pessimistic. Expect the worst and hope for the best.
There you go.
Expect the worst and you're rarely disappointed.
And that's.
Aaron, did you find if that's how close we are to MRL?
Well, I think you can
It's
do
got
DES.
a
we can
40-foot
do
strip off the
Or
center
do
line railroad.
generators.
And then there's an additional 10-foot
That's what I'm
strip
hoping,
parallel
because
on
it's
the
in
sheriff's
the
office.
and
Yeah.
It says deed extra.
Oh, the
I think I would
EOC, as soon as you
research
attach the word
okay, I know
EOC
what
to
that's
it,
about.
anything is
Access to a lot
eligible
more,
Yeah.
through DES.
Yeah, so that's gonna be right here, probably that 40 feet.
And most of those grants do not go towards new structures.
So Scott, I'm okay with the
Yeah.
doors on the east side, if you can tell me that that's okay with the railroad.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll research that.
Okay, that'd be great.
I mean, we've had dealings with MRL on projects and they're tough to get timely feedback.
We tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have any luck.
And now that BNSF bought them, it's probably even more difficult. So, but yeah, we're used to working with them and we just ask the questions.
I do have a couple questions on the numbers. I just need to find,
Oh, sure.
because it's what's included in here already is a land survey. We already have that accomplished.
Okay.
So that's for the topo survey,
The-
the topographic survey, so we can make sure it's set properly elevation wise. This is a boundary survey,
Correct.
which tells you where your lot
Apples and
lines
oranges.
are. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the engineering design, which I'm not questioning anything there except for on the structural, if we're purchasing an existing building that's been, already,
Manufactured.
manufactured, they're supposed to be, structurally built for the area, or?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll send them this floor plan and they'll design the frames to our specs. So you're not buying an existing building, they're building it to the specs.
See what our needs are.
But then we have a number in there for Staley to do
Foundation.
structural.
Yep, you'll have foundation work you'll have to do. Yep, and then all of our interior stuff. So 2 instances. So we may, like I mentioned, we may have the mezzanine that's framed up, or we may have the metal building manufacturer going together. Whatever the case may be, Staley Engineering will have to work with that metal building manufacturer to make sure that that mezzanine works and is framed right. Plus you'll have interior framing too that we'll have to talk
To
through.
meet the specs of this set.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so whether it's Butler or Chief or whatever the metal building is. And when we go out to bid for it, or if we're doing even GCCM on that, we'll ask the contractor to look at a couple different companies for metal buildings. And then they can get bids back on those. And then Staley will work with those, whatever selected Gringer metal building manufacturer to get the design done. So it's a common, they work together.
Okay, just questioning.
Oh, yeah, no.
Good
perfect.
questions.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
So the other, we're in a floodplain and we're hearing rumors that FEMA's going to change the maps in Teton County. Just FYI.
How soon?
Mel,
There's going to be a public meeting on the 16th of August at the pavilion. I don't remember what time, it's evening.
The thing that we've heard back was that this first little blurb that they put out is nothing to use to make decisions on.
Yeah.
I mean, they said that nothing's been quality checked for elevations, and so we're really not thinking that this preliminary one is right by any means.
So they have released a preliminary map to you guys?
No, not to us, somebody else
They
got
released
it,
to the
but,
city of Choteau.
Is that
What?
publicly available?
well, it should be.
Should be, once the city has it.
But we talked to them yesterday, or our planner did, and they said absolutely don't use that.
Sure.
So,
And is that what's driving you? Because I know one of your thoughts was to raise that elevation of that building up a little bit.
and by the LiDAR measurements that they took a year ago, that yes, it had to be raised before, that way it would just keep it out of the floodplain.
Right.
And most of the floodplains east of the track, the railroad track,
Okay.
but one never knows.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, we worked together, with Staley's Billings office with Carter County. So we did a new hospital in Ekalaka. And right when we had started, we had finished the PAR and we just keep going on schematic. Army Corps of Engineers came in and raised the floodplain. And so because it's in the central facility, which is what this is too, we had to go 2 feet higher
Yeah.
in that plane, so.
And we kind of figured that we'd have to be 2 or 3 foot
Right.
from where the base is right now. It's not gonna raise it that much higher because it's dipped down.
Right. Yeah.
And I'd rather caution on the side of being higher than
I agree,
lower.
yeah. Yeah, because no matter what, this building has to keep functioning.
Correct.
Yeah.
In function, you just gotta stand up with your ankles in water.
Be used to that.
Yeah.
But the phone line cord's a little higher in the
Yeah.
wall.
Plug-ins to the side.
Okay,
As far as the individual rooms, that can be addressed later. As far as the size of the rooms, I don't care, but I have a little different idea than what you've drawn there, so.
because you had talked about just a simple table.
Yep.
Out of the middle.
I want to be able to walk 300 all the way around it. I don't want it up against a wall of any kind.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we'll give you a back, basically a back shelf or back casework. So we've used these in the past, these are all stainless steel. And then it drains, that's a drain.
Yeah. And that's the importance of the floor drain too.
Yeah. Okay.
I think when, on our side, where you would put the washer and dryer, a utility sink would be great.
Okay.
Have some source of water.
Yeah, that was the idea behind this janitor closet. So we'll put that all together
Yeah.
and get it fit better for you.
Yeah, and I guess for us, so we would need hand washing sinks in that mother's room and in the lab. And is
Yep.
it possible for me to take this back to talk to my staff about workflow and that kind of thing,
Oh,
just
yeah.
to get some feedback from them? And
Yeah, I'll send it to Kathy and
great,
everything they can send down.
Now's the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's easy to move ink.
Yep. Yeah, and I think our next time together would be great to just have all of your teams, whoever you want involved, I guess is how I
Yeah.
should put it. That we can sit down and just brainstorm, because it's nice to hear them talking too, because then we can pick up on stuff, so.
You know, next to the coroner bay there's that a wall on the bottom, but that's hallway between the,
Right here?
no, where's
Above
the
the,
sheriff?
above the red circle.
Oh.
Is that all open through
Yep.
there?
Yeah, that's all.
Oh, okay.
So, with your Suburban, you'll be able to just fit that
Right,
right in.
and I would like to match the doors into the
Oh, sure.
morgue, kind of centered to that bay.
So when you swing the doors
you can
open.
make a corner, or you can have a double door and just roll right out of the coroner wagon and into the morgue. Just a straight shot.
I put a 4-foot door in here.
Did you?
We could
Okay.
do.
Well, that would be
almost
enough.
4 foot would be enough.
Yeah. We'll just move that door up a little bit.
Just so it's a straight shot to the table, Keith, is that?
Yeah, kinda. Or from the back of the coroner's wagon to the room would be more of a straight shot. So
Mm-hmm.
that way you don't have to try and.
They never turn well,
Finagle
do they?
that.
No.
Is it possible after you go back and kind of do a little bit more design on this that you send it to us before the next meeting so that we
We
can
can show it to our people.
show it to our people and then we're not redoing the whole thing,
Sure.
waiting for the next one?
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea you had about having your, because
Yeah.
somebody will invariable,
Yeah.
they'll catch
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
we're all missing.
For sure.
So I think
And that's what I like to do is just spend a day
That's
just
a great idea.
brainstorming with each department to lay it out and make sure we have everything. What else on the plan are we missing? Or thoughts that we need? You need a second storage for equipment.
So if we leave the EOC unfinished and the maintenance and the search and rescue, we can get down to 2.4 million. So
Yeah, we'll
what
just
do you think?
we'll keep crunching numbers depending on what we talked about today and just kind of keep it going. I'm sure we can do that. Yeah, so all of this, depending on how we set up the mechanical electrical room, I have it right here, kind of in the middle right now. Showing it there. It'd be nice to have that maintenance available to the building. If that's what you mean by maintenance for this, it's for the building, or is it more for just
Well,
county stuff in general?
County stuff.
Okay. Okay.
He has the lawn tractor and snow blower and those type of things that function better if they are warm when
Oh,
we
yeah.
start in the winter.
Yep, I agree.
How big is that second training room up there behind the search and rescue?
636 square feet. I think you had 800 originally. So I'm just trying to rob and get stuff put in there.
Because, you know, and I understand the rules, but there's more hallways in this thing than there was before.
Well, and before you had corridors that ended, that can't end. So we've got to get people out of the building.
Okay.
And so I think like one of your corridors ended in the ambulance bay, which we can't exit people through another space. They have to go right outside. And so rather than trying to extend that one corridor that you did have,
Sure.
we put a turn on it and try to group up these as best as possible. So, and we can look at that again too, and things will morph probably a little bit further, but just making sure we have that exit pathway through the building that then allows it to serve all the different departments. Is the idea.
And this is just another question, but in the search and rescue bay, when they're looking for more storage, could there be something split between those two in this corner down here?
This one?
Nope, over right there, between there and the EMS.
Oh, yeah. So just more rooms basically is what you're thinking.
Well, I mean, Deb was looking for another storage room.
Sure.
And just move the door down in the hallway
Sure, I see what you're saying. So add a door or a room right here for Deb, and then we'd put this door further down.
Correct.
And then this would become part of ambulance.
Well, yeah, a storage facility. Because that's right next to everything else.
Yeah.
I don't know, does that seem functional, Deb, or?
It's possible. It kind of depends on what you do with that whole decon thing right there. So the whole point of that training storage is to load into the vehicle to go out and then also to use in that room. So that's pretty central right there for both of those.
So when you say training in here, what do you mean by that? What do you?
So it's all of our mannequins, we have an entire truckload of CPR mannequins and anything that we use for training, IV
Oh,
supplies,
training
airway
storage,
supplies,
gotcha. Okay.
all that kind of stuff that's specific for training that needs to be separate from our actual patient supplies.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because it had on there, if I remember right, it said office/training, and I couldn't figure out how you were going to train in that.
No.
So that's
Yeah,
that's for training.
no.
Storage.
Other than messing up the plumbing, what if you flip the decon, the janitor across that door to where your red box is?
Put decon here.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's just a short little chute to catch that.
yeah. And then make that your second storage.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I would think search and rescue, if you put the decon, the laundry, all that kind of stuff together, search and rescue is the one that's going to be using that along with us more than anybody else.
Okay.
They would potentially use the decon. I would think. And we might let law enforcement in, we kind of gotta worry a little bit about them, but.
You should.
They've got guns.
I know, they got guns. But they would be able to access it too then.
What about, up above that mezzanine, there's a lot of storage up there too. Would you use that?
Probably not all of that. We would use some of it, but we probably wouldn't need all of that.
Okay.
Our file boxes aren't that big. I hope they don't get any bigger.
Okay.
It would be totally enclosed though, correct? Locked and everything. It wouldn't just be open storage.
Either or. I guess
It would have to be totally locked.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, and if.
And it have a wall on it so it's not
If they put that
contaminated.
firewall in there,
Yeah. Yep. So,
that eliminates a lot of issues.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a firewall there.
And one
so-
on each end, actually.
Yep.
But yeah, would not necessarily have to be that big. The room that I have right now is smaller than that office and that's not even full, so.
Okay.
Think of anything else, Joe?
But certainly if it was open all the way up, then you guys could access that far too. Cause I'm envisioning that there's never gonna be enough storage.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of storage. Even with this plan right here, up there, and then you just break it up
Mm-hmm.
per apartment. Okay.
Think of anything else, Melissa? I guess you're gonna go and dress this back up and then send out a.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll get you a copy of this too,
Rough
just so you have
schematic.
records of what we started with and our next.
But then the departments can look at it,
Yep.
peruse it, and
Yeah.
cuss it and discuss it.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. now's the time.
Yeah.
So that, just that main entrance that's there, that would get used by, I mean, it would be heavily used by people coming into the health department. It would also be probably the primary entrance to anybody who's coming into the EOC for a training or anything like that. But otherwise, you guys probably would be using different entrances, like to get in and out of,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, search and rescue, ambulance, and then sheriff, and these doors. And so just trying to consolidate more for cost.
We wouldn't use that door hardly at all.
I don't think we would
Going
either,
through
but
through the, next to the sheriff's base.
I just don't know if in the middle of the day, if there's a great big training going on, how distracting that would be. to
Right,
your
I guess
office.
that's what just one of the things I'm thinking about is what would that, just to have the public coming in to use the health department. It's definitely not all the time. It probably wouldn't be a lot, but,
No, but I mean, I can envision you guys using it for different meetings too, and everybody's going in, then pretty soon they're, trying to figure out, they've never been there, they're walking into the health department, and yeah, if you could have those maybe a little more separated to where it was just this specific door, it goes into the EOC, this one goes into the health department.
My experience has been, aside from just budget, is that people always go the wrong door. They're like, all right, where do I go? Even no matter how well it's worked. So if we can just get everybody in the same space and then they can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus it puts a little more security on the EOC too, to have that not right into the EOC where it's off the side and then in.
Well, I remember that we had 2 doors on the EOC because the elections administrator was wanting to have a flow
That's right.
in and out
Yeah.
if we used it for elections.
And we've since been doing some research on that, and the EOC, from what we've heard, should only be dedicated as an EOC. Because all of a sudden an event pops up and you're having voting, then everybody has to scramble to relocate. And so we're looking more into that, because we're working on with another county on another EOC project. And we're open to use, put everybody together and consolidate it, but now we're being told we can't do that.
But that back training room could be used as elections.
Yep.
Yeah,
What you
if we
said
had to.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might need another outside door in it to do that.
So the hallway on the south side of the training room, is that necessary? You have a hallway that goes up and then
Yeah.
up to the east?
Yep, so that gets our exit passageway.
So could you use it without the hallway and just have the exit? I mean, is there a reason why it's gotta be a hallway? I'm just asking. See where I'm,
Yeah.
Oh, so not have this chunk, make that the whole room.
Yeah.
well, just
Take
get rid of
that
that
one
hallway.
wall,
and
that left wall out.
Is
Oh.
there, is there a,
Yeah, then we don't have a way to get people in this corridor out the building. Or back.
Yeah, but couldn't they go into the training room and straight out?
You can't by code, you have to be
that's what I was,
exit straight out.
that's what I
Yeah.
figured.
Yep.
Because it just seems like it would be a lot more usable space if you could just have the exit walk through that room.
Right.
It's a no-go.
Have a temporary panel there.
Electric fence.
Yeah, that would work too. I guarantee they wouldn't stray then.
Yeah, it's just the code says you can't exit through an adjoining
Figured
space.
that was gonna be the answer, but I thought I'd try.
Yeah.
You don't know until you ask the question.
Yeah.
We can just delay on building that wall for a while.
You may not get a CO if you don't build it.
So if we leave the search and rescue out, we're still gonna have to have that firewall?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, we'd build this wall right here.
So it'll just be, we won't finish the search and rescue or the search and rescue meeting room or the maintenance or the EOC, and that's what you're gonna try to make fit into 2.4.
Yep. Yeah, we'd need to get these restrooms in, and that, like, the kitchen could just be shelved. But we would have to get those restrooms / toilet showers, yep. Yeah. So we tried not to deviate from the original plan because we worked hard on getting that set up. But it may make sense that we reconfigure some stuff too, just to make that more combined space. And so, yeah, I don't know. If we flipped and put the EOC now on the sheriff, I'll say the sheriff's side, would that become an issue? So Melissa, your department and the EOC switch places. Would that
Oh, so
be-
the health department was in the center.
Yeah, so if you were here, does that become an issue? Because then we can build out all of this, well, aside from SAR, but we can build this out and then leave this shell as just one big open space.
So I guess concerns that I would have, so I know EMS and DES would, I think having really easy access to that EOC from their offices and space is probably going to be pretty important. And the other thing is that I have full-time staff in the office, and so exterior offices with windows is pretty key for us. So I think we like that outside wall.
Yeah, yep, no, I agree.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we talked about costs. In number 4, I just put in like a tentative schedule, just to keep us pushing forward and keeping going. And so I set up that the end of August, we kind of finalize the schematic design. And then last time we were together, we talked about going the general contractor, construction manager route and getting them involved in the project. So we have a schematic design that's done, share that with them, they put their proposals together, and we interview and select. And at that point, then the general contractor comes on board and starts assisting with finalizing the design. And then once we get that done, I thought about February, we would be ready to go out and start getting bids. We could procure a pre-engineering building package, and then it would be, I'm guessing it's gonna be about 9 to 10 months, given that all of our materials are available. Still running into issues with electrical items, some mechanical things, post-COVID. And so with that, I was thinking about March 2025, it would be complete.
So how's your crystal ball?
Yeah, exactly.
The only concern we have is some of the one-time only federal funds need to be spent by a certain date. And I would
Okay.
have to look that up too.
Okay,
That would probably be a good piece of information to get you.
perfect. Yeah,
Is that your ARPA funds?
ARPA and that LATCF.
LATCF.
okay.
I can look into that.
Okay, would you do that?
I think ARPA is,
I think it's 26.
I was thinking end of 25 or end of 26, so you'd be good there. And then I'll look into the
Yeah, if you could check out,
LATCF.
that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. That may just determine which funds we spend down first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess another, it's a concern because we should start raising that area and packing the gravel so that it's established before we start pouring concrete.
Well, the contractor will do all that.
No,
Yeah.
I know, but if we're not doing anything till February, as far as
Right.
bidding,
Well, they can, assuming we have to raise it a couple feet, I'm assuming that they have compactors and they'll compact it. It's not
Yeah.
like it's gotta sit over the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They can
Yeah,
do
there's
it
no
then.
need to surcharge it, as you're
Okay.
thinking.
Okay.
They'll just, then undoubtedly, one things we'll need to do is get a geotech report started. Geotechnical,
Yeah.
so they'll do borings. We'll get the geotech, our footprint of where it's gonna be roughly, so they can put some borings see how the building is sitting and what's underneath the ground. There could be, I don't know what that used to be used for, but there might be hydrocarbons in there or something too that we'll need.
I know they did a cultural study on it when you were gonna put an antenna up a few years
yes,
ago.
they
So
did.
we should be clear on that.
Okay, good.
That was,
Good to
that was
hear.
for a grant.
Yeah, for Homeland Security
We would
grant.
need that if the money's in hand.
Okay. Yeah, so that's one of the things we'll need to get started because
And we're,
your
yeah,
group will need that.
we're working on getting that secured.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
Other than that, as long as the schedule works with our deadlines for the one-time only funds, I'm okay with it. I mean, it just takes longer than a person thinks it should, but that's okay.
Right. Yeah.
And you guys are on board with we've talked a little bit about the GCCM process and the benefits of that.
The what process?
So hiring it, instead of finishing the design and then bidding the whole thing out. Like
Oh, yeah, we
Scott
talked
said,
last
we
meeting.
bring a general contractor on and they help with the final process. I mean, they help a little bit,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but cost savings ideas or.
Budgeting is a
But-
big piece of it.
Yeah.
You know,
And once they get through their piece of it, they provide a guaranteed maximum price. And so at that point, you'll know what your
We
budget
do
number
have some
is.
local contractors. I don't know if they would be interested in this size of a project, but I'd sure like to give them a shot at it.
Sure.
I'm sure-
Absolutely.
I'm sure the one would do the cement work.
Yep, and that's perfect because we push that on in all the communities we're in is we really want to set up for local
Yeah,
involvement to the extent
we
that they
appreciate
can
that.
or want to.
Yeah, please give them a chance.
Yeah,
And the generals don't often self-perform every piece of the project, so
Right.
they are looking for
Subcontractors.
subcontractors.
right. And even so, let's just say in this building there could be 37 bid packages. So everything from concrete to drywall, paint, all that. And so because the general contractor construction manager is leading the job, that doesn't mean they have all the work. They have to bid it as well. And so let's just say if we use, for example, Swank Enterprises said, well, we're going to give you a paint number, but you've got a local person that wants to paint too, and that number is less than Swank's, then they'll be painting it. Swank won't be. And so it's just keeps it still very, you're still getting a competitive bids that
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah,
and I guess just to reiterate, we need to stay within those numbers.
right.
Because, I mean, we're not gonna ask the taxpayers for more money and we're not gonna
Right.
Mhm.
go in debt, so.
Yep. And that's the one of the great things about having the GCCM process is they know what their guys, what their costs are every day. We don't. We make calls and
Sure.
use software to get us close, but they know it. And they may have 2 or 3 metal building folks that they work with already. They can say, here's what we're doing. What have you had in the past? How close are we on our numbers? Can you get us numbers? And then we can get those preliminary numbers too. Keep checking. I guess that's where I'm going with this, is we can keep checking on pricing as we're designing and making sure that we're not, come bid day, it's 7.7 million,
Yeah,
or something.
right.
Yeah.
We would just say goodbye.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
no, no, we don't want it to happen either.
You don't need to put that in.
Yeah, cameras are running, you can't.
Yeah,
say
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
If the process to get a hold of Burlington Northern to look at that is a long process, would it be worth looking at redesigning that and putting it back over on the south end? Seeing how you
Yeah.
could make that fit sooner rather than later? The maintenance?
Yeah, we'll know once we get the Alta survey or the boundary survey.
Do you, one of our surveyors knows Matt well. Do you, I was thinking about calling him to see if we could get an electronic version of your boundary
Sure.
survey.
He should, yeah.
And then put together with our survey, then we'd have, exact line work
Yep.
on what we need and where to put things.
Yeah, but I don't know because with your 3 bays and then the search and rescue bay, we just could not shoehorn that.
Well, I think you mentioned about making it a
We
little
could
bit,
go a little
little bit deeper,
Yeah.
just to see if it was for, I would hate to get that far into it and then be waiting on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything else, Joe?
Nothing's coming to mind.
So it looks like we're progressing.
Yep.
Do you have a time frame when you may get a copy of the schematic back to the departments?
I can send this one in just immediately, just so you have record of it. But then it'll take us probably just a couple weeks to really get it and fine tune it
Okay.
and get it back.
So when are you thinking about having the next meeting then? You're all sitting here.
I think probably 4 weeks or so.
Let me take this.
Do that. It'd be good to make it just a long day and get with each of the departments too. And just kind of walk through. How possible.
Today's the 1st, so 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
So if we did that.
I think we'd be probably in the 29th, be back on site in that range.
August.
Could we
Yeah.
do it the 30th?
Yeah, or whenever you meet next. Yeah.
So if we had an
Wednesdays work
update,
better for our local paper. She's kind of,
Oh,
I was amazed. She showed up today.
okay.
Mondays and Tuesdays she's swim up. So
August 30th.
let's-
so if we had an updated schematic in 2 weeks that we got out to everybody, I would give everybody 2 weeks to kind of look over it before the next meeting.
So you want to shoot for the 30th then? The
Yeah.
31st, any preference?
I don't think so.
Let's do it on the 30th,
What time?
10 o'clock.
Does that work for you guys traveling?
If we have staff come to the meeting, we probably should try the annex, you think?
Yeah, I think that'd give us a little more room.
Sure, I'll put it on the,
Would you do that?
yep, I'll put it on the, I'll look and make sure.
We're firm on the 30th?
I have a night meeting in Townsend that night, but
Would you rather do it 31st at work too?
that might be better. For me, it would be.
Let's shoot for the 31st then.
Joe, I'm just wondering logistically wise, if they want to schedule time with each of the departments, maybe they could be here at 10 o'clock, but maybe the actual meeting with the group as a whole might need to be at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, to give him time to,
What are your guys' thoughts?
Mine's not gonna take very long, as a group, you know, I
I
mean.
guess if you get those drawings and stuff out early enough, we can go over it with our people
Yeah.
before, a day or two before, so.
Yeah, I think my staff would appreciate an opportunity to sit down and talk it through with you guys, if possible.
I like doing that.
Okay. So if we want to set aside a little time for health department to come down specifically to do that, that'd be great. And
We'll just-
whatever
we'll just
time.
plan on being here for the day,
Okay.
starting at 10. Maybe towards the end of the day, we can just do a debrief on what we've talked about and what adjustments are being made.
I have that meeting at 6 o'clock that night, Thursday, so we better be done by then.
I don't know if we can do that.
Joe, are you thinking the department heads meeting with Scott, don't run into any meeting issues, but for the commissioners, 2 or more of you to come into it, do you want to set like a 1 o'clock time, or, I'm trying to figure out how to notice this so that
Yes.
we don't have like this 6-hour open public meeting.
Yeah.
Why don't, let's do that. The department heads and whoever they want to come can meet at 10, and then we'll all sit down at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay.
We still might be working, so there will be probably follow-up even after that.
Yep, that's a good
Yes.
point now.
Okay, as far as noticing it,
1 p.m.
I'll
1
put 1
o'clock.
o'clock for the group with the commissioners.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else we need?
I'm good. I think I got my marching orders, so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Who would you suggest I speak with regarding that preliminary map? Trying to get a copy of that.
The
The FEMA map.
The floodplain.
So is
Brian,
that DES?
No,
Does
that'd be
the state have
no.
that available at all?
I don't know if they do or not. I could ask. Not that I'm aware of. Danny was the one that had them before.
Yeah, we haven't received one,
Yeah,
but
we haven't
like
either.
this, like Brian said, when he talked to, and I think it's DEQ's has most of it.
Yeah.
DNRC.
It's
Yeah,
my experience, they won't release them to everybody at first, but they'll release them to local jurisdictions as a preliminary.
Sure.
So,
But they
By
said
the city
not,
office.
yeah.
Choteau City Office.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyone in particular, or
Chris
Tom.
Hinton is the mayor.
Probably Tom's the one who's gonna know where it's at.
Yeah.
And I have Chris's contact information if we need that.
okay.
Very good. I did bring a hard copy too, so you can have
Okay,
something to scribble on. And,
okay.
very good.
yeah.
We appreciate,
Are we adjourned?
yep.
You see that example that I was talking about? I'm thinking along the lines of, just
11.
let's
All in 35.
move wherever you want it.